Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet. This is a small story or a Chinna Katha that Swami has narrated. In the days of yore, all the grains that were harvested would be stored in granaries, and these granaries would often get attacked by rats. So it was common that every household would keep a cat. Now, there was this particular cat that was lazy and it would not hunt rats. Instead, it would attack the milk and curds that would be in various homes. Especially during Satyanarayana Puja, the milk and curd and other such delicacies, dairy products, have to be kept out. They cannot be stored safely because they have to be made as an offering, right? So that is the time the cat would indulge herself. And therefore, in the story, Swami mentions that the person who owned the cat came up with an idea. So during every Satyanarayana Puja, what he would do is, he would take the cat, put a basket over the cat and sit on that basket while doing the puja. So you can be sure that the cat is right below me. It is not anywhere else causing havoc or, eating the curds or milk, drinking the milk. After a while, the cat died. Then this person died. But this practice lived on. Swami said that after many years, when people visited the village, whenever a Satyanarayana Puja was done, people would go looking out for a cat, catch the cat, put the cat under a basket, sit on the basket and then only do the puja. It became part of the ritual. And Swami says this is how meaningless rituals and superstitions are born. The spirit behind the ritual is what makes it spiritual. This was the way people led their lives, and there is a meaning for each of these, just like there was a meaning why the cat was put under the basket. For instance, this arati, this waving the camphor before an idol of God. Why should it be done in such a Hindu thing? See, for us it is, Swami encouraged it, so that's good enough reason. But actually, if we go into it, there is so much of meaning. In the days of yore, there was no electricity, there were no bulbs, there were no tube lights. And whenever people went to the temple, God would be placed in the sanctum sanctorum, in the innermost recesses. Again, this is very metaphorical. It means that God should be in the innermost recesses, very secret, very deep within. That is why even in the temple, you will not find the main idol at the entrance. You go in, you go deep, you go into the innermost recesses. There God is placed because God is most treasured. How do you see God? How do you see the idol when there is so much of darkness? There used to be lamps, of course. But for people to focus only on God, like a focus light, the arti used to be used. Where gently you do, you take the arti plate around so that everybody can see the face, the body, the hand. That was the practical reason why arti started. So in that perspective, it doesn't make sense possibly to wave a camphor when we have floodlights, halogen lights, LED lights. But Swami gives us perspective. Swami says the aarti is done as a reminder for each of us. What is a reminder? It's a reminder, it's a prayer that we should make to God. God, let my life be like that camphor. How is camphor? Pure, white, fragrant. Lord, let my life be fragrant and pure and white, and let it burn in order to light up your form. Let my life burn so that I can light up your name, your form for hundreds or thousands who have gathered. And at the end, when the thrilled devotees, when the charged devotees wonder who is it that made it possible for us to see God, I don't even exist. Because camphor sublimates. It's one of the few materials in the universe that sublimates, turns from solid to gas, and nothing is left behind when you see in the Aarti plate. Let us be egoless in that manner. Now the Aarti is not a religious thing anymore, right? It's such a beautiful prayer. Every one of us has an ego and we wish to sublimate it. This is the thing, and I feel that our entire life is one long ritual. It begins with the ritual of birth, the ritual of education, the ritual of friendships, the ritual of making a relationship, the ritual of marriage, the ritual of bearing a family, the ritual of rearing a family, therefore the ritual of the career, and then the ritual of retirement, and again detachment, cutting off. Everything is a ritual. And when we understand the spirit behind it, it becomes spiritual. This is so important and critical for us to understand, because we feel that we don't have time for spirituality. No, every moment of our life we are spending in rituals. We just need to understand the spirit and go by the spirit. Every ritual then becomes spiritual. For instance, the Vedam chanting. It is not a Hindu thing. Veda chanting is as much a Hindu thing as much as X-ray or ultraviolet radiation or infrared rays are. All of us use IR therapy, irrespective of our religion. All of us use X-rays. Radiations. These are vibrations and radiations. It feels so beautiful even if you don't know the meaning. That is why people from the West travel to India to listen to the Vedas. It is not religious. It has got to do with something at a much fundamental level, which is vibrations. And the meanings that we see are all metaphorical. Don't go by the direct meanings at all. But for me, even before I got to know this or got to understand and experience a part of the Vedas, I held Vedas in great esteem simply because Swami gave importance. That's all that matters. Let me share with you the experience of my physics teacher, S.N. Sairam, from higher secondary school. The teachers in Swami school are so amazing. Swami has handpicked them and they are so perfect to be as teachers. When he was a student, when Sairam sir was a student, he used to take care of a person called Chai Ko Seng. Chai Ko Seng, if we have to speak in realistic terms, he had a bad accident, a misfortune in life, because of which he was not sound in his mind. But out of his infinite compassion, Swami decided to adopt him. And Dr. Chai used to stay next to Swami's residence in Vrindavan, and every year 2 to 3 students would be selected to take care of Dr. Chai. And they were called the Chai boys. And the Chai boys usually got into form. Form meaning Swami used to speak to them a lot, interact with them a lot. And it used to be very, very difficult to take care of Dr. Chai. One day you come, he's like a baby, he's like a child. One day you come and you see he has thrown food all around his room. It's on the ceiling, it's on the wall. You wonder, how did you manage that? He would get angry and chuck plates. But sometimes he would be in a lovely mood. In Swami's presence, he would always be the most well behaved. And it was definitely a test of patience and love and tolerance, kshama of the boys when they had to take care of Dr. Chai. But Sairam sir was one of the Chai boys. And Swami was happy with these Chai boys, 3 of them. And Swami gifted them white cloth pieces to stitch safari suits for themselves. Now, while Swami was giving this, Swami told the other 2 boys, here 3 meters of cloth for you. Here 3 meters of cloth for you. And to Sairam sir, Swami said, you 2.5 meters enough. Now, practically 2.5 meters is not enough to stitch a safari suit and pant. But Swami did that. And Sairam sir was wondering, why did Swami do this to me? It's okay. In his mind, he thought that when I go home, I will go to the cloth store and find a matching color, matching texture of the cloth, purchase a little more and then get my clothes stitched. But then Swami said, I want you all to get this stitched and wear it day after tomorrow. I want to see you wearing this. So they had to go to the tailor immediately. So So the three boys went to the tailor and they asked the tailor who was there just outside the ashram, Swami has given us this cloth and we need to have dresses ready by tomorrow. Is it possible? He said, if Swami says it is possible, we'll do it. Everyone who is aligned with Swami will never say not possible, because when you say the word impossible in Swami's presence becomes I am possible. I am possible. It can be done. Everything can be done. So the tailor stitched, and Sai Ram sir didn't tell him about this fact that his cloth piece was a bit smaller than the other two. Not a bit, a good half meter smaller in length. He didn't tell that. He just left it and he said, he thought, let us see what happens. Now the next day, when they went to collect their clothes, the safari suits, the tailor calls aside Sai Ram sir and he says, there's one small problem. I hope you won't mind. And Sai Ram sir nodded. He knew. He said, see, the cloth was a little less. And Sai Ram sir said, yes, I know. So what, did you make only a trouser for me or a shirt for me? And then to his surprise, the tailor says, no, not your cloth. Those two, their cloth was little less. So I had to borrow from your cloth, because it's the same texture and same material and same color, and add it to them so that I could complete their safari suit. I hope you don't mind, because this is a cloth Swami has given you and I have used your cloth for both of them a little bit. So I hope you don't mind. Now Sai Ram sir's jaw dropped down. What? And what about my shirt and trouser? Oh, that is ready. Here, they are ready. He was totally numbed. Why would he mind? His mind had got numbed. Anyway, they wore those safari dresses and went to Swami's presence. And as Swami saw them, Swami smiled and he said, yes, you are looking very good, very nice. And then turning to Sai Ram sir, he asked, Seripoinda, was it sufficient? Then Swami added, Swami ఏదైనా ఇస్తే ఎప్పుడు సరిపోతుంది. Whatever Swami gives is always sufficient. Whatever Swami gives, and when I say Swami gives, it's not just physically giving. The message that Swami gives, the advice that Swami gives, his words, his dreams, everything that Swami gives is always sufficient, more than sufficient, as Sai Ram sir discovered, for all of us. And that's why when it comes to all these things in life, what Swami says is more than sufficient for me. Coming back to the ritual of life, there is a micro plan that Swami has given for life and a macro plan. When I say macro plan, it's a vision, a kind of a vision thing, a large whole life kind of a planning. And when I say micro, it is for our day-to-day activities. It's all there in Swami's discourses. I thought it would be great to present these two plans, the macro plan and the micro plan. Let me start with the macro plan. The macro plan Swami has outlined in a discourse called the Mansion of Life. It's there in Sathya Sai Speaks. Swami says the mansion of life is built as multiple stories. What is each story made of? Swami says the foundation is the Brahmacharya ashram. The first floor is Grahastha ashram, then Vanaprastha ashram, finally the Sannyasa ashram. These are Sanskrit terms, but Brahmacharya ashram means the stage of celibacy. Grahastha ashram is the stage of householder. Vanaprastha ashram is the stage of retirement. And Sannyasa ashram is the stage of complete detachment. Let's spend a few minutes on these. Swami in the discourse says that it is not compulsory that one goes through all the 4 ashrams. Sometimes they go through only 3, sometimes only 2. But definitely everyone should go through Brahmacharya and Sannyasa. These are 2 most important ashrams. And this becomes important because we can roughly divide our life into 4 quarters, each quarter dedicated to one of these ashrams or stages. Brahmacharya is the stage which is the foundation, which Swami says is when childhood and teenage years, Celibacy, it is translated as celibacy, though celibacy is not a complete translation for brahmacharya. But why is celibacy given as a translation? Because practically that is what makes sense. This is a stage when we are not supposed to focus on relationships, on boyfriends, girlfriends, husband, wife. No. This is a stage practically dedicated for studies and learning. And what learning? What? Higher learning. It is the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, right? Higher learning doesn't mean academically higher degrees, but higher learning. Because brahmacharya means seeking Brahman. This is the age when the child or the teenager realizes that the goal of life is to get God. Because happiness is union with God. Happiness is union with God, and therefore union with God is the goal of life. The first stage, the foundation of life, has to be spent to build this in very strongly. This is what will guide every other action that we do in life, the habits we inculcate, the kind of people we keep company with. Because any of those that takes us away from our goal, we will avoid. Any of those that take us towards our goal, we will go into. That is why Swami would also define a friend, Of course, God is the best friend. God is the only friend. But Swami would say any friend who takes you closer to God is a good friend. Takes you away from God is not a good friend. However, other benefits he or she might give you. So the first stage in life, in the macro planning, is to be spent only on this. Why? Why shouldn't boys and girls mingle as teenagers? Why shouldn't we go to prom parties together? There is a reason, there is a reasoning. Definitely. As I said, I don't have time to go into that now. But suffice that Swami has said, right? This is how Swami has said it, so therefore I'll follow it. Then comes the Grahastha stage. Grahastha stage is when marriage comes in. Again, Swami has given so much advice on marriage. Modern concepts like dating, though without using the word dating, Swami has given advice. In fact, a couple of months back I had done a video on that as well on the channel. But Grahastha Ashram, this is the time when you grow the family, you take up responsibilities, we do work, pursue the career, duty as a father, duty as a mother, duty towards the children, duty towards our parents. Because parents by now would have gone into the next stage, which is Vanaprastha Ashrama. Vanaprastha is the time when you slowly start planning for retirement. You start cutting away attachment, start reducing desires. It's okay. It's okay if I don't visit all the 170 or 200 odd countries in the world. It's okay if I don't buy the best cars. It's okay. You start reducing desires. That is Vanaprastha Ashram. And start relinquishing positions of power, relinquishing positions of authority, positions of money. You start writing your will, because these are all ephemeral, these are passing clouds. And finally you reach a sannyasa stage where you are not attached to anything. At least in the Vanaprastha stage, you guide your children, you tell this is the way you do, this is what you don't do. And if they take your advice or not, it's okay. But in sannyasa stage, no, you're focused because now you have to attain the goal. Having been taught that God is the ultimate goal, now in the final few years, I better ensure that I reach that goal. Otherwise, I'll have to be born and go through this whole thing again. This whole ritual of life. But today, what do? During the Brahmacharya Ashram, we are focused on the Grahastha. As teenagers, we start dating, we start finding whatever, girlfriends, boyfriends. What's wrong in that? It's wrong. What is wrong is that it's not the correct time and circumstance for that. There is a time and circumstance coming in later in life for that. Then when it comes to Grahastha, the time when we have to work hard, we say, oh God, I am so stressed. I don't have time. Most of the memes that we see by working professionals is all about that, right? All about how stressful life is and how we want retirement. As Grahastha, we are wanting Vanaprastha. But once we reach Vanaprastha stage, we want to enjoy again being carefree like we were as children. Oh no. And we miss the Grahastha stage. Retirement is not fulfilling because it's so boring, it's so dead. I want to live life, I want to be vibrant. 60 is the new 30. Nonsense. When we were supposed to be 30, we were not. We were eyeing for 60. And now when we are 60, we say, no, this is the new 30. Yes, we will work, we will enjoy, we will indulge in pleasure. No, wrong timing. Wrong timing, brothers and sisters. And then sannyasa, we don't reach at all. We never reach a stage of renunciation and giving up. We are attached. Even on the deathbed, we are attached to our power, our position, our money, our relationship, everything. That's why we die crying. We don't die peacefully. This is a macro planning. As I said, I don't have time to go into the details, but this is the kind of macro planning. And what about micro planning? For micro planning, I want to recollect how one Swami had said, for my students, if they follow the hostel schedule, it's enough sadhana. They need not do any other sadhana. Because Swami has set up a hostel schedule such a beautiful manner. I'll quickly go through the hostel schedule because I think it's very, very useful. So at around 5 o'clock, you wake up with Omkar and Suprabhatam prayers. 5:30, jogging and exercises. 6:30, you're back, your ablutions, have your bath, get ready. 7:30, breakfast. 8:30, you're off to college or to work, wherever. This is the ideal planning. Okay. Then, so at around 12:30, you take lunch, continue with work. Ideally, you should be done with work by 4:35. Having started at 8:30, by 5 you are done. 6:30, prayers. Before those prayers, some physical exercise. Dinner by 8 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, sleep. This is the micro planning for the day. And there is a reason for each of these. There's something called the sattvic time, the rajasic time, the tamasic time. Again, I have done a video on this as well. This is how it is. This is the ideal. I may not be able to follow it, but I should tend towards it. I should try to work, build my career, organize my priorities in a manner that I can adhere to this because Swami has given this schedule. This is the one that will help us do everything perfectly. So therefore, I think we first start off with faith in Swami's words, follow whatever he says, and know that behind every ritual that we do in life, there is a spirit. Understanding that spirit will make it spiritual. And definitely, we have to head towards that ideal scenario where I don't see a difference between the kind of things that I'm doing, because everything that I'm doing is Swami's work. Without his will, we say, not even a blade of grass moves. Is it possible for you and me to do things which are not his will? With that, I pray to Swami that our love for him keeps growing stronger every passing moment. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.